She's architect Meenakshi Shina. She's right now she's a professor at Pilo Modi College of Architecture, Cuttack, and she's also the principal architect at Masa Studio. She has been working in Guwahati and Bhubaneswar for years. She's having years of industrial experience in this particular architectural freelancing field and all that. And she's also associated with a few organizations in the past also. If I'm not wrong, ma'am, please correct me if I'm not wrong. So, ma'am, yes, to you. She'll be our today's guest speaker. Your mic is muted, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
And visible also?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Achha. Hello, yeah, myself, architect Meenakshi Sinha. I am working as an assistant professor in Pilo Modi College of Architecture and also a principal architect for Masa Architects. So today, without wasting much of the time, we'll be discussing about a very interesting topic, which is the basic of architectural planning. So for that, I would like to share a presentation which I have prepared. It is basically about planning of G+1 building structure. I'd like to hold for a second as I am just sharing the presentation.
And meanwhile, ma'am, let me just introduce the students
Yeah, so
to
you
you.
just carry on. I'll just
Yeah, like there are 3 to 4 students from architecture, and rest of all of them, like they are from civil, basically. One of them is doing their masters, and someone is doing a job. So
okay.
this is the.
So I'm just connecting to my shared screen. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, yes, yes.
So here you can see the topic is architectural planning of G+1 building. So by building planning will basically understand an orderly arrangement, or we can say it is a step-by-step conception for accomplishing a building design. So here I have cited 5 major points which are very important while going for any kind of building plan. So the first is site climate and its effects. The second one is living habits of the owner and their requirements. The third one is bylaws and regulations of the sanctioning authority. Fourth, we go for the budget of the owner. And fifth is materials and methods applicable in the design. So these 5 major points are very much useful and should always be considered while starting any kind of building plan, may it be a G+1, a ground, or further vertical structure. So I have first tried to describe all the points in a very detailed manner. So in the first point, which I state is the site climate and its effects, I have just taken a like hypothetical site which is of about 32 feet by 38 feet of plot size, and which is a road which is parallel to the x-axis. So here you can see another important thing is knowing the direction of your site. So whenever you are going for any kind of plot, you can see in your regular day-to-day life that any kind of plot we choose, so we have nearby sites which are either ground structures or open fields or might be G+1 structure. So here in this site, we have to also know about its surrounding environment also. So here I have cited the north direction, south, west, and east direction of this particular plot. And I have also came to know about it has a road which is facing north direction. So while we'll discuss about site climate and its effects, we have to consider important 3 major points. First is your orientation. Second is location of the plot and what type of climate it belongs. Now, by orientation, again, since what I have explained in my earlier point is that orientation is basically what is the facing of your site. Might be you have a site. In my case, it is a north facing site. So you might be having a west facing site. So for that analysis, you can also use a compass, which is basically a magnetic compass, which is very much available in your phones, or you can buy a very manual one. So with that, you can come to know that the orientation and direction of your existing plot. So with that again comes the location of the plot. Now, why the location of the plot is important? I would say that it's very important because location of the plot gives you an idea about in which particular zilla and in which particular what to say like lane views and municipalities does your plot comes under. So there are many plots which do comes under municipal corporation or might be under not under the municipal corporation. So in both cases, these are helpful because once you know if it is under the municipal corporation, you can go for applying the bylaw, which is mandatory. And on the other case, if you see that the plot is not coming under any kind of municipality corporation, in that case, you can carry on few important measures which will be very useful and important for your building in future. And at the same time, it will not disturb your neighboring environment also. Now, again, orientation can be further classified as wind direction and sun path. So when we know the orientation of the plot, two important things we have to consider. One is the sun path direction and the other one is the wind direction. Hello? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, am I audible to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we say the wind direction, we will know that since in the last diagram we have seen, we have a site, right? So here we know the north-south direction, the northwest direction, southwest, southeast, and northeast direction. So accordingly, we can come across the flow of the wind that can also be calculated by a wind meter, which manually comes for architectural practice or civil practices. And at the same time, you can just experiment it by playing a flag or some kind of cloth in which direction does it move. So accordingly, we can also come across the sun path diagram. We can also design we can also understand the sun path diagram. So sun path diagram basically defines which portion of your plot is going to get the maximum effect of the sun and the lesser effect of the sun. So here in my case, I have since divided the plot in equal dimensions so that I can just evaluate how much of the portion is going to get the maximum heat effect and how much is getting the lesser heat effect. So here I have calculated that in my southwest direction, I am seeing the sun is higher, and in the southeast, it's also the sun is higher, and in the northwest, the sun is lower, and on the northeast part, it's getting the maximum lower, it's getting the lowest amount of sun effect. So this helps in planning what rooms and what kind of placement you are going to give your plan. For example, if your bedroom comes in somewhere around this southwest direction, you have to take measures so that it can survive the maximum heat effect. And again, similar for when it comes in the southeast direction also. And here somewhere in the northeast direction, we can consider something which is very cooler. So here we can come across designing a veranda or a big balcony in the upper story, like G+1 structure, so that this portion gets the maximum cooling effect. Now, this analysis also helps in taking measures of what kind of materials you will be using for your building, like in your design, what kind of materials you are going to implement so that the heat does not affect your living environment. So according to that, I have also calculated the wind direction.
Ma'am, just let me just interrupt you. Someone is asking, Himanish is asking, how the sun path diagram is found.
Sun path diagram is how the sun path is found.
Yeah, Himanish is asking this question.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just hold on. Yeah, how the sun path is found. Actually, what basically is done is that suppose you have the plot. What you have to do is that first you have to get the direction of the site. Suppose in my case, I have got the direction like north, west, south, and east. So I have known that which direction my plot is facing. So with that, we all know that sun is rising in the east and it sets in the west, right, Himanshi? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So with that, we can analyze since the sun is rising in the east. So we can start drawing the sun right from here, right from this place, and we can just have a basic analysis that by the day it's going to set like this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
If we start from this point, it is definitely going to set on the west. So accordingly, you will get an idea that the morning sun, which is here, is getting just the fresh and the just beginning light scorching heat of the sun, and this portion, which is exactly the south, when we understand that the midday, that is the afternoon time, we get the maximum heat. So we can assume that this portion is definitely going to get maximum heat, right? Accordingly, we can just lower down, and when we come to this portion, we can assume that here the evening sun is going to give calmness and it is going to be much more cooler than the afternoon sun. So this way we can understand the sun path diagram. Yeah, Himanshi, am I clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So just moving further. So accordingly, here you can see that with the plot, I have also analyzed the wind direction. For wind direction, I have said that you can use a particular tool which comes for measuring wind direction and direction which is available. Or else you can go for just small tricks like keeping a cloth flagging in the side, and you can see the maximum wind flow comes in which direction. So you can just have a lump sum estimate about to see the wind flow. So this measure is also helpful for building orientation so that you can make sure that your house gets maximum amount of natural ventilation and natural cooling. So again, coming next to the next point, like I have also said that you have to understand your surrounding environment also, because since in my case, I have considered that it is a high residential area, and it has a G+2 building on the left and a ground building on the right side and a field in the rear. So my plot has a field on its back side. My plot has a field on its back side, like here on this direction, and a G+1 building here and a G ground building on this direction. So this portion here I have my field. So I can see that since the field is in the rear direction, it is open, and definitely I am going to get maximum ventilation and natural air from this side, right? And since this portion has the G+1 structure, so I'm sure that this portion is also getting light, but it is a diffuse light since it is obstructed by the later later building. It is obstructed by the later building. And I can see that in this portion, if I place some kind of utility areas, which is basically done for making things dry. So this portion won't be much applicable because it is not getting the direct sun or direct ventilation. But in this portion, where I have a ground structure here, which is a neighboring plot having a ground building. So here I can place some kind of utility thing so that I can dry my stuff here. At the same time, it will get a ventilation from this direction, plus it will have the maximum heat and dry effect also. So now coming to the next point is that understanding the effects and prospects of the design that you are going to provide. So by effect, here I mean the desirable wind movement inside the building at the level of occupancies and use. As per the rule of Indian standards, every habitable room should have opening directly to the external air or into an open veranda. Okay. So for a climate like Bhubaneswar, where we face very hot climate with humidity during the summer, it is cited that 1/6 of the floor area can be used for openings and ventilation. So here in Bhubaneswar, we all know that we face the humidity issue, and in that case, we have to make sure that our house gets naturally ventilated so that the wet air or the humidity does not stuck much in the inside environment. For that, the regular flow of the wind is very important. So in that case, we can calculate our home plan should have 1/6 of the floor area for openings and ventilation. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, it's audible.
So coming next, by prospect, here I mean that the outside view as seen while looking through the window and door. So whenever we are going for a design, your residence or any kind of a structure that you are assigned for, you have to make sure the view in the sense your design view, at the same time what view you are able to give the inside people to the outside environment. It's like connecting your inner habitat to the outer environment. So by prospect here I mean the outside view as seen while looking through the windows and doors. Everyone desires outside view from the room of a building should be pleasant and accordingly place the door and window. But we have to take care of the aspect also and plan looking into the benefits of both the aspect and prospect. So in the earlier part where I have discussed the aspect means you have to do everything according to the rules and regulations. At the same time, coming to know that your doors and windows should have 1/6 opening so that you get maximum air in your house. And by prospect, I mean whatever design you have mentioned. Suppose 1/6 of the opening that you have left in your design should not lead to any kind of defect while viewing the scenery or while viewing the outside environment. It should be in a harmony. I cannot say that the aspect and prospect will be in equal ratio because it is just a statistic that it has to be in some kind of a balance. Okay, so you cannot exactly implement the aspect and reject the prospect, because if you just implement the aspect, you are making sure that you are giving no room to outer environment, or you are giving no room to anything which is visible and anything which is more useful and pleasant to the habitat. So in that case, you have to maintain a balance. Now, when we talk about prospect, we can divide it into two basic parts. First is your flexibility. Next is your privacy. Okay. Now, in your design, flexibility means, suppose here you can see a plan. Is it visible? In this plan, you can see, I'm pausing for a second as my electricity has shut down. Light doesn't jala tha. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
So here in this plan, you can see that this is the diagram A. In this diagram, it's like the basic veranda. It has a door, then the living and dining, and this connecting corridor leads to the kitchen and the outer space in this part, and toilet and a bathroom. Fine. So whatever this has been designed, so it has been designed in such a way that it is flexible, that it can be converted to the diagram B also. So this is A, which has been modified to B. This is flexibility. You have all heard about future expansions. Whenever you are designing a building, you have to make sure that it is G+1. You are always giving, giving a space that G+1. You are leaving spaces for your rods and all those details so that you can construct further structure in the future. Similarly, if you have a space in the ground, you can also make sure that you leave some kind of, futuristic area so that you can convert your plan, modify your plan for future expansion horizontally also. Vertically, it's very common. We all know vertically, everybody is going for vertical structures nowadays. But horizontally, if you are having an open field nearby, so you got maximum chances, and might be you can have a prospect that you can expand it horizontally also. So since in this case, the plan A has been modified to plan B. So this part, which is the veranda, remains the veranda. A bedroom has been extended in this portion. You can see a bedroom has been extended in this portion, and the living and dining is the same, which is again connected to a kitchen, toilet, and bathroom. Now again, the B has been modified to C. Here you can see the bedroom has been extended to bedroom 1 and bedroom 2, and it has again got a narrow corridor, and rest this portion remains the same. So this is the expansion. This is just, I'm giving an example that how your plan can be flexible and it can be expanded. Vertical expansion is very known because it is something which is just the mirror of your ground plan, and the structure is just going to rise higher and higher. But in this case, I'm just giving a view that how you can expand your plan, like in a futuristic thought, with a futuristic thought, like the first beginning, if you start the core structure with this plan, you can modify your plan up to the diagram D. So this is the flexibility part. Okay, now the privacy. So as our site, in my case, in a higher residential area, management of sound planning is very important. Then we should keep in mind adjoining houses should not see the happenings of good planned houses. And also a guest entering the room should not see the happenings in the kitchen or the bedroom. So obviously you all will agree on this point that whatever happening that is going inside the house, maybe it's your kitchen happening, so anything that you are enjoying with your family in your home should not be visible to others that is your nearby neighbor. So in that case, you have to make sure your doors and windows should be in a proper height and proper sea level so that it is not visible to them. At the same time, you have to make sure with other measures like providing blinds or curtains. These are all interior elements which will come later. So now the privacy factor is again an external or an internal factor. Now external privacy of the whole building with reference to the surrounding buildings and roads can be guarded by placing window sills that can cut the vision of outsiders. That is what I said in my last point. Then screening of the entrance by planting trees. This is another important point. This is the external aspect of privacy. So in your boundary, you can plant like high foliage trees, or at the same time, you can also plant, longer and vertical trees, which can restrict the outside view to your house. Okay. Now, the internal privacy is in modern planning, we see a big central hall is provided to serve as a drawing cum dining, placing the kitchen and bedroom along both the sides. Here we can attain privacy by taking care of door positioning. So this is the internal privacy. The earlier one is the external privacy, and this is the internal privacy. Yeah, any questions so far?
Okay,
Hello.
guys, like if you have any doubts, you can ask directly. And do take notes of the things whichever ma'am is telling, because you will be using this frequently.
I can't hear you. Hello. Sorry.
Like I'm asking them to take notes of whatever you are saying because we'll be using this while planning. So please do make notes of whatever ma'am is saying, like short notes.
Yeah, you are asking that they want notes of all this.
No, I'm asking them to take notes of your lecture.
Yeah, they should. Hello? I'm not getting any voice from them.
Guys, like if you have any doubts, you can ask like the things that you have been told till now. You have any questions or doubts?
Hello?
Okay, I assume there is
Ma'am,
no
it's
one.
fine, ma'am. We understood everything, ma'am.
Yeah, do interact at least, like it's become more interesting when you interact. Okay, ma'am, you can proceed.
Okay. Himanshu, I'm just taking few of the questions that is asked by Himanshu. So Himanshu, I have answered your question. Have you understood what I have told?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm moving further. Then the next point is the second point. First point, can you remember that I have shared is your, okay, the first point, that is the site climate and its effect. So I'm moving to the second point, which is the living habits of the owner and their requirements. Okay. So by living habits, I mean in order to decide the room sizes, we have to first know the lifestyle of the owner. This is a very important and interesting thing, and this is the point which makes variations and gives different kind of detailing or planning styles or different kind of structures that you want to design for your client. Everything depends on how the lifestyle of the owner is. So here I'm assuming the owner income to be in the MIG group, that is the middle income group. So we all know we have basically three categories of income group, that is the higher, middle, and the lower. So I have considered my client to be the middle income group. And I have also considered that in the family there are four dwellers. The ground floor they want for the provision of rent. So this is the requirement which I have to satisfy for them so that my design is useful to them. At the same time, I am also paid well for whatever I have designed and it is logical to them. Now, here in the ground floor, they want two bedrooms, one kitchen, dining and a staircase, which is for rent purpose. And they want two toilets, one attached and one common, one parking space, and there will be a septic tank of for 8 to 10 users, and the length will be 2 to 9 meters. In the first floor, we have a 2 BHK with attached toilet, puja balcony. So these are the basic requirements which has been given to me by the client. Now here next I'll be deciding the sizes of the room, and here I have taken the BIS MIG group classification. Now, BIS is Bureau of Indian Standards. So here also we get some of the very interesting layout and sizes, standard sizes of bedrooms, which are very applicable, and you should also use it in your designs because these are the standards of Indian standards. Like we have a National Building Code, and it's the NBC. Similarly, we have in India is the Bureau of Indian Standards. So according to that, the drawing room, I am taking the size of 12 feet by 14 feet. The dining room, 10 feet by 11 feet. Kitchen, 6 feet by 8 feet. Bedroom, 11 by 15 feet. Bath and WC, that is 10 feet by 5.2 feet. Parking, 16 feet by 9 feet. And staircase, 7 by 11 feet. So these are some basic data collections which is very important before you plan any kind of design. So after that, I am moving to the next step, which is the bylaws and regulations of the sanctioning authority. in the first point, since I have mentioned that the site climate, you should always know where your location is, which will help you to understand that in which particular municipality corporation does your building plot come. So in my case, my plot is under the BDA, which is the Bhubaneswar Development Authority. And according to that, I have calculated few of the important points which are mentioned in the bylaw. Suppose, as per the authority, with respect to its front road, the front offset should be 3 feet. So in my case, you have noticed that in my plot, there is a road which is just in the front of the plot. So in that case, we have to make sure that the front offset, by front offset, I mean the distance between your boundary and your building, the entrance part. In that case, 3 feet is necessary and it has to be provided. And in the rear offset, it should be 1 feet 5 inches, and in the side, it should be 1 feet. This is the minimum, and the maximum you can rise higher. You can move horizontally further if you have a bigger plot. Since my plot is not that big, so I have taken this standard setback. Okay, so the first 2 points have been done. Now the grouping, I am experimenting my layout. So here you can see I have done the grouping as per direction. So what you see is that since I have talked about the sun path and wind direction, these are what? These are various aspects which can help you in planning your design. You can either go for understanding the sun path and planning at the same time, or else another option is you can go for wind direction. So in both cases, you are giving some kind of logical solution, and if you can consider both of them, it will be the best mix. So in this case, in this layout, I have done this grouping as per the direction. Okay, so I have made sure that northwest I will place my bedroom, because this portion has got less sun heat and it is going to provide naturally cool environment to the habitat. And on the west side, I will provide my dining area. I have known that I have a plot nearby in this direction, the west direction, which has the house of G+2. So in that case, I am not going to get the sun heat in this direction, and I will get a diffuse light, a decent diffuse light, which is useful and very much logical for the dining area. It could be used in the daytime also. Anytime you can sit around and just relax in this portion. And the toilet on the east direction, since on this part I have a ground structure only. So I can expect that my toilet receives maximum light and ventilation. So it does not get a diffuse light. For toilets, is very important how much, if you can provide that your toilet should be exposed to direct heat, so that it dries up and keeps your toilet free from any kind of smells and odors which are not hygienic for your home environment. Then I am placing my staircase in the south. This is not according to Vastu. Now, Vastu is another aspect, but here I have done the planning completely on the basis of direction. So staircase, placing the staircase in the south direction, and in the kitchen in the southeast direction. So in this portion, again, kitchen should also be exposed to, maximum be exposed to direct light and ventilation to keep your sink spaces and your ring spaces very clean and hygienic. And parking, I have placed it in the southwest direction. So yeah, so everybody has understood this layout.
Sure.
Hello.
Ma'am,
Yes,
Apur Jain is asking that what if the ground floor structure on the east side extends?
Ground floor structure. No, the ground floor structure. Okay, so that is just a ground floor. This is an hypothetical plot. So I have assumed the site which is in the east has a house which is just the ground floor structure. Hello. Yeah, Rahul.
Apur. Yeah, Apur is asking.
Apur. So you can directly question me. If you have any doubts, you can question me. So is it clear?
What about the ventilation if, ma'am, I'm asking about what about the ventilation if ground floor extends on the east side structure?
The ventilation of which building?
Toilets.
Now, ventilation of the design that you will be providing.
Yeah.
Okay. So definitely you can provide, the ventilations above the lintel height. Usually we provide ventilations in the above the lintel height. So there is no obstruction. Definitely you will get some kind of mild obstruction because the neighboring plot is only having a ground structure. So in that case, it does not have a future expansion. Suppose it does not have a future expansion at all. So in that case, it is a some type house might be or a flat roof. So you don't have to take any kind of worries about whether the light is going to or the ventilation is going to come. It is definitely going to come, provided you make it happen in the lintel above the lintel height, so that you get maximum light and ventilation. And below the lintel height, definitely you are going to provide a window which will be on your sill level. So that is useful, but that will have a diffuse light. You have to accept that that will have a diffuse light, and at the same time it will have a diffuse ventilation. So that is not a defect. That is not a defect at all, because that is also very useful thing, because we have to make designs according to our environment. We have to adjust. We are creating environments to be more useful. Definitely, we cannot completely omit the neighboring plots or the site conditions or the surroundings. We have to take all the measures and come across a more logical and useful solution. So we cannot just say that the person nearby should just destroy his house. We have to make sure that his house also exists. Our house is also in harmony with the neighboring environment. Okay. So Apurva, it's clear, na?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So next I'm moving. Okay. Here I can see the arrangement is such all plumbing requirements. Now plumbing is another important part. After knowing the requirements, in my case, that the ground floor will be basically for rent options, and the upper floor will be for the owner. So here, plumbing and sanitation is a very important part. So you have to make sure that your tenant does not interrupt your house plumbing. Does not interrupt with your water or sanitation things. Suppose you can have two kind of tanks. One is completely dedicated to the tenants and one for your personal use. So if you are going for a completely planned rent house, so in that case, you can dedicate a separate tank from them all. Now we have to, above all of this, we have to consider that whatever we are designing should be cost effective. And we should not be in a hurry that we make it in a very lavish way, and we have known at the end that everything has exceeded the budget of the client. So in the first, only I have mentioned the third point, which is like sanctioning of the plot by the local authority, at the same time knowing the client budget also. So you have to consider the client budget also. So the bedrooms attaining maximum wind flow and moderate sun with a pleasant space. I have made whatever the calculations here in this diagram. From them I have drawn this calculation that the bedrooms attaining maximum wind flow and moderate sun with a pleasant space. The service area, both kitchen and dining, gets connected. The service area, both kitchen and dining, gets connected. This is my connection. This is my connection. Okay. And the circulation space, the entrance of the staircase, gets placed connected to the parking. So staircase is connecting the parking. Once the owner or whoever comes can just park and just get a ride on this direction. They can go upstairs, or the owner can enter his own house from the way. This is just a rough scribble sketch. This is not the complete drafted image. It is just a scribble image, just for conceptual purpose. Okay. Now, so far I have discussed the previous 2 points. This is another point, that is sanctioning of your plot. Now, whatever your building design has to be sanctioned and approved by the local authority, that is your municipal authority. For that, you have to calculate the permissible covered area of your total plot. This is a line diagram that I have prepared for this plot. That is, my plot is 32 feet by 38 feet. Okay. So this is a proper layout which is drafted in AutoCAD. So everybody can see this layout.
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am.
Okay. So this is the garage which I have told is my 16 feet 1 inches by 11 feet 7 inches. So I have
Which side
considered
is
the
the entry is
entry is this side, entry is this side. This is the road, right? Here we have known that we have another building which is G+2. So this way we cannot do the entry. Fine. So we have made the entry from this side. Your car might be parked in a, backward way or in the forward way. It has got, because this is a very narrow plot. It is not that big plot. So in that case, we have to compromise few areas. So for the requirement, as per the requirement of the client, I have made sure that my car parking space is this area, which is decent enough, like 16 feet and 11 feet is decent enough as per the BIS standard. So from that, I have made the entry. Here, it should be 2 steps up. I have listed the 2 steps. So 2 steps up, suppose you get the entry for the tenant. We have known that this part will be for the tenant, right? And upper part will be for our personal use. So while coming in this direction, the owner can rise upstairs and can go into his floor. Okay. And the tenant can just come up. Here we can provide 2 steps, which will lead to around your 1 feet 6 inches of plinth height, and it will lead to your dining. Then the bedroom, 2 bedrooms here. This planning has completely been done as per the layout that I have done, calculating the direction. Okay. So there is similarity in that. You get it? This is the conceptual my plan, and this is my drafted plan. Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is the 2 bedrooms. Then this is the dining. Here I have placed a bathroom which is attached to the bedroom 2, and this is a common bathroom, and this is the kitchen. So I find this is very useful. This dining, it's of like multiple use, both living and dining. This is a very small space. You can place the dining in this portion and a mini living area. Like you can place your TV in this direction and place your furniture somewhere here. It will be bit cozy, but useful and very, what to say, very effective in this kind of planning. You can change the layout also. Okay. So next, I have discovered that my permissible covered area comes to be 898 square feet, and my building block is around 27 feet by 33 feet. Now, my plot is rectangular plot, and I have made sure I have taken it very simple. I made it very simple, and I have also made my building in a rectangular format. Okay. So this building block is of 27 feet by 33 feet. Now in the line diagram, we'll show inner to inner dimensions inclusive of external walls. So, okay. In the breadth, I am arranging 2 rooms in a ratio of 13.5. Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I'm moving to the budget of the owner. With respect to our site, proposed budget is of assuming 50 lakhs. 50 lakhs is our proposed budget. So we should always keep in mind the economy of the project and take measures right from the planning stage. So choosing the shape is a very important aspect to make your design economical and which is applicable and also does not disturb the expectations of your client also. The shape of a square building is most economical as it provides maximum floor area with less wall area. So I hope you all know that a square building has the most economical effect because it will provide maximum of your floor area in whatever way you just play the orientation of the block. It will provide maximum floor area with lesser wall areas. Again, the bigger the size of the room, lesser is the cost. This is another trick. So these are basically few tricks that you should take consider in your design so that your design comes to be economical and useful also. Square plan, it is definitely going to a bigger like layout, and at the same time it will reduce your wall area, and the more lesser your wall areas, it will reduce the cost also. We should avoid maximum corner walls inside as construction of corner walls cost more in comparison to straight walls. So here, from this I mean that this straight wall will cost less. If I place a straight wall here, will cost less rather than me designing this wall. Okay, this is going to be much costlier than a straight wall. So we have to do our design in such a way that we avoid maximum corner walls. So definitely we'll come across corner walls. It is not avoidable. So we have to make sure we provide it in a very least manner so that our plan gets maximum expanded in the horizontal direction if we got a wider plot, or in case a shorter plot also, we can go for a partition wall. In the same way, we can go for straight walls with cuts in them so that it reduces the cost. Then we can provide maximum rooms with common walls. That is by arranging two rooms side by side. This is the example of the common wall. So in that case, you are reducing the cost. The one wall is sharing both the bedrooms. Okay. Then in order to maintain economy, we can also consider the room size should be multiples of the available local bricks. So this is another trick, that your available local bricks, if you are using your local product, then you can try this trick also, that the room size should be multiples of the available local bricks. So you can get an idea, an estimate of how many bricks that you will be using in your wall. So in that case, you can also estimate the cost of your walls also. Now, next comes the materials and method of achieving appropriate design. So this was my layout. So here I have used concrete hollow blocks, which are of 400 by 200 to 200 mm, that is 16 inches, 8 inches, and 8 inches, which comes up to 50 rupees per square feet. Per feet. So this entire demonstration is just giving you a roundabout idea that whenever you are going for any kind of planning, if you maintain all these aspects, if you consider all these aspects in your mind, you will definitely come across a very effective, affordable, and useful, beautiful design, which will be both accepted by you and satisfied by you as a designer. At the same time, you will be able to satisfy your client also. Now, then in materials, I have tried to use maximum eco-friendly materials, as we are going towards a future which is very unpredictable. We all know about this COVID-19 issue and everything. So we are moving towards a very futuristic world. So the most we use eco-friendly products and promote eco-friendly structures, it is going to be more useful and beneficial for our future. Then at the same time, we are reducing the cost, we are making cost effective, and we are saving mortar also, and good insulating properties against sound, heat, and dampness. Sorry for the spelling mistake here. Like we are reducing the maximum. We are using maximum eco-friendly and sustainable products to ventilate or to insulate or to reduce the carbon emission in our living environment, providing a much better environment which is damp proof, heat proof, and very much, what to say, naturally ventilated and cool. Then the doors, you can use the UPVC doors and windows. UPVC, we understand that is the unplasticized polyvinyl chloride. So we can use UPVC doors. These are also comes under the eco-friendly materials. Then advantages, you should always consider the materials that you are using should be durable and long lasting. Then it is a lightweight, it is corrosion or decay resistant, low cost, and it has got less maintenance. It is moisture proof, very much effective for this climate. That is, the climate of Bhubaneswar is very humid. So this material is very useful for this climate and weatherproof also. Two more advantages are it is scratch proof and marks can be erased or polished. Then you can use louvers in your ventilation. Somebody has asked me about the ventilation. So in the ventilation, you can use louvers in your toilet or else in your like rooms also. The louvers are more helpful because you can give the effect of a swing. Just like you use the AC, you can just swing the louvers in your desirable direction. Then MS steel railing for the staircase and balcony, which are 3 inches wide. Then glass in the window, single strength glass, which are 0.9 inches thick. Larger windows, double strength glass, which are 0.1 inches thick. So these are just getting a tentative idea of what are the basic materials that you will be using for your design. I have also told about 1/6 of the house should be maximum of doors and windows so that it provides natural light and ventilation. So in that case, this specification is very useful. Okay. Now methods applicable in our design. For construction, basically I use the DPC in the plinth. You must all be knowing about the DPC. May I know who does know the DPC? Hello?
Damp proof concrete.
Damp proof?
Concrete.
Okay. Yeah. So I have used it in my plinth, and the windows and rooms should be such that the inlet openings should not be obstructed by adjoining buildings, trees or other obstructions in the path of airflow. For a building height about plinth at 6 meters, minimum width of the open air should be 3 meters. So these all specific specifications, you can go through some of the books, that is the Bureau of Indian Standards. You can quote this book, and here you can see some of the very important points which will be useful for your design. Okay, so this is all that I have to share in today's session. So do you have any questions regarding this?
Ma'am,
Hello?
short intro on damp proof concrete.
Okay, damp proof concrete is basically provided for damp proofing plinth. You all know that the DPC is a course of layer that is provided in your like slab which is in your plinth. So in that case, what is the basic thing you have to? This is a course of layer, right? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a course of layer. So you are a civil student, you must be knowing better about it. So this is just applicable for making maximum maximum damp effect to reduce the effect of dampness. So damp proof is basically provided in higher plinth, or at the same time it could also be made for lower plinth also. So in my design, since I have raised the plinth up to a height of 4 feet, so in that case I am providing this DPC. Okay. Okay. So any more questions?
Okay, ma'am, I think there is some more portion, so we'll continue this to tomorrow or on another day. What do you suggest?
What I have, this is all that I have shared for today. For tomorrow, I'll be talking about something different, because this is just a tentative idea of how the planning standard and planning specification should be before going for any kind of building plan. So this is just a brief of the entire layout.
I think you have told like so many points, like so many new things they must have been like hearing for the first time.
Yeah, This is actually they are doing it in everyday life, but this is what
Yeah.
actually conscious planning should be. Everybody does plans, right from the mason to everyone. Nowadays, everyone does planning. But if you are a conscious designer and if you are a conscious civil engineer or an architect, you will consider all these important aspects because this will make your design more living and useful, eco-friendly, and futuristic, surviving every kind of natural calamities and all these aspects, because your house is everything that will matter to you at the end of the day. When you are coming to your home, you should feel this coziness and a good healthy environment, and which will be provided by future architects and civil engineers.
Ma'am, what about the location of septic tank? It should be
Yeah.
according to Vastu or according to
No,
our toilet.
yeah, yes. See, Vastu is a very different subject. Today, whatever I have talked is just a architectural planning of G+1. This is just the basics, okay? So in this case, I have not considered Vastu. I have only considered the wind direction and sun path, the orientation, sun path. These are the two keys. So for septic tank, if you can go for Vastu, it is also good. One, if your client is very much superstitious or wants something to be according to the Vastu, then definitely you can place it as per Vastu. But today I'm not going to talk Vastu issues because my topic is restricted up to the basic planning layout. And if you are going for placing septic tanks according to the sun path or the wind direction, in that case you can see that in which portion you are going to place your tank so that it gets minimum heat and a very pleasant calm tank, so that it does not heat up during the mid time or doesn't cool up during the winters also. So you have to maintain a balance in that case. In my case, I have provided a septic tank probably in the northeast direction. Hello?
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Kasorina is asking will you be able to share the slides with them? Because
Yeah, definitely. I will share the slide.
okay.
I will share the slide, but let's make it by tomorrow. We will go across some minor spelling corrections also.
Okay, definitely. Ma'am.
Okay.
And guys, if you have any further questions, or we can end this session. If anything else is there, ma'am, to be covered today. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, guys, if you have any questions, you can just ask, or we can end today's session.
Ma'am, is this the final plan or changes are possible still?
Pardon? Yeah,
Is this the final plan or we can change it afterwards depending upon the client?
Yeah, we can change this layout. See, this is not a planning thing. Okay, this you have not understood. I think this is just the process of your planning that I have shared today. Okay, so here in the third point, I have mentioned about the prospect and aspect thing. That is your flexibility. You are asking about, will this planning remain the same or we can extend it in the future, right? That is you are asking, the.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in my case, since I have taken my plot is of 32 feet by 38 feet, it is a small and narrow plot, right? So in that case, ground expansion, like in the horizontal fields, it's pretty difficult. In the upper floor, if I can expand my balconies, that is applicable. That can be done. So in the ground floor, you cannot go for horizontal expansion since you don't have a nearby open field. Your open field that is in the rear side is also not your plot. It's of another person. So in that case, you have to compromise with the horizontal expansion. But in the vertical expansion, you can experiment with widespread terraces or you can play with height. If you want, I can go for another session in the next coming once Debashis starts the SketchUp part. I can add to that. So in that case, you can play with height. Okay, you can play with height, and you can create open terraces. You can create clerestories which are somewhere between your ground floor and your first floor. You can play with different heights, and you can create interesting expansion spaces also. Instead of going for a horizontal, you can go for vertical, but in a very out of the box way, which will provide you both connectivity and at the same time give you a different futuristic vision to your design also. ग्राउंड फ्लोर में आप हॉरिजॉन्टली एक्सपांड नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि आपके पास जगह नहीं है कि नहीं. ऊपर की तरफ जब आप जाओगे तो अब आप आराम से उसमें वेरिएशंस ला सकते हो एज पर योर डिजाइन रिक्वायरमेंट. मेरे केस में क्या है, ग्राउंड में आपका टीनेंट के लिए जगह है, ठीक है, और ऊपर में आपका ओनर के लिए जगह है. तो ओनर जहाँ पे रहेगा, सपोज आप ओनर हो, आप वहाँ पे रह रहे हो, तो आपके घर में आप जितना चाहो वेरिएशंस ला सकते हो. लेकिन जो आप टीनेंट के लिए बना रहे हो वो तो आप क्या है, अपने मॉनिटरी बेनिफिट के लिए बना रहे हो, तो उसमें आपको ज्यादा प्रैक्टिकल होना पड़ेगा. प्रैक्टिकल इन द सेंस आपका टेनेंट को एक अच्छा जगह मिले और आपको एक अच्छा बेनिफिट मिले उससे. लेकिन जिस चीज से आप रहोगे वहां पे आप क्या कर सकते हो, मैक्सिमम उसमें वेरिएशंस ला सकते हो. मैं जैसे कि बोल रही हूँ, आप वहां पे बैल्कनी निकाल सकते हो और आप ऐसे टेरेसेस डिजाइन कर सकते हो जो कि आपका घर का पूरा लुक ही चेंज कर दिया. ग्राउंड फ्लोर आपको मैटर ही नहीं करा. ऊपर का फ्लोर जब देखेंगे लोग बोलेंगे कि दिस इज समथिंग वेरी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम ऑल ऑफ द हाउसेस. तो वो आपके ऊपर है, वो आप वर्टिकली आराम से कर सकते हो. आपका प्लॉट के हिसाब से आप हॉरिजॉन्टली स्केच पे नहीं जा सकते.
Okay, so like ma'am, you are talking about the software. So let me just know the students that, like guys, if you are like enjoying this kind of particular session where like your thought process will groom and evolve, because there is nothing in the softwares, like you'll open the softwares and start plotting. That is a different thing, but the mindset that it takes to start working on a software, that is more important. Then that is what we are like just started to learn in today's session. So if you want, like we can continue this session also tomorrow, because ma'am is like willing to teach something else regarding the vertical variations and all those. So if you are liking this kind of session, then please do let me know here or in the group, because the more you will be spending on the concepts of understanding how to plan something, I think it will be better. Because software you can like explore on your own. Obviously we'll teach you softwares, but I think understanding these concepts are much more important than doing it on the software, because that's only the application part, but at least you should have a pretty good clear idea. So do let me know, you can just let us know here, because we can also continue this session. Yeah, so then we can also arrange another session tomorrow at the same time.
Yes, sir. We will like to have concept-based sessions.
Yeah, definitely.
These are more useful than just learning the software. Learning the software is just a very easy stuff. Everybody can learn it. But knowing the concept and applying all these concepts in your design will make it more meaningful and useful.
Yes,
both for you and your clients also.
Definitely, ma'am. Okay, so if you have any another questions, or we can conclude this.
Hello, yeah.
Ma'am, what about the plinth height?
Plinth height.
Or the or the levels which are being provided between the parking and the plinth and the ground level.
I didn't get your question. You are asking about
how much we should take.
Okay, plinth. Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am.
That plinth basically depends on your existing road height. See, suppose if your road is a national highway and you have a nearby road connecting to the national highway, you are making a bylane to your national highway. In that case, you will have separate standards for your plinth. Again, the plinth height is also coded in your BDA, that is the municipality corporation standards. Okay. So there also they have mentioned all this, height of plinth, as per the road, you can decide your plane. And you can see that for standard plane height should always be, minimum 4.6 to 5 inches, if you can see. Okay. Sorry, 3 feet. 3 feet, you can go for 3 to 4 feet. That is the regular standards that we use in nowadays structure. And for flooded areas or some areas where there is maximum damp-proof or dampness in the plot, so in that case, you can go for a just more higher plane, suppose up to your 6 feet. In that case, you have to provide steps. At the same time, you have to give a layer of damp-proof coat, and other solutions are also provided for the plane so that it does not cause any kind of dampness in your slab. So you have to experiment with the materials that you are using. So that's why I have told that the material is a very important aspect of your design. So you are making your design useful only if the material is very useful for that climate. You have to consider your climate in a very important way, so that you come across applicable materials which will help you and your design to flourish in a long lasting way. Okay, the planes, you can raise the planes from 4 feet. Standard is a 4 to 5 feet. So above that is very less done nowadays, but you can go for that as per your site conditions. And at the same time, you have to also check for the local authorities and the bylaws. They mention some standards for the plane. Okay.
Okay. And one more last request from my side, ma'am. If you just can tell the codes that they should download, to study all these things. Like NBC is there, and another one.
For this thing, they can go for the Bureau of Indian Standards also.
Okay.
For civil engineers, I think that is much useful. And for architectural planning, they can go for this NBC. And there is, I will just share some of the names to you. You can forward it to them later.
Okay, definitely.
They can for standards also. But if you go for Indian standards, BIS is a good one. NBC is also again a good one. So these two are very useful. The other ones which I'll provide, those are not Indian, those are international. Time standards is universal. They can download the time standards. Time standards is very good for everyone. Time standards is ebook is also available in the website.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Hello.
So I hope everyone has got the answer. Sure.
Okay then. Thank you everyone.
Thank you also, ma'am. And let me just conclude this session by saying that, in yesterday's session, we have just talked about how to deal with client and how to negotiate the price and all that with these people. So that was quite an interesting session. And the participants who are participating right now and listening to us, let me just know you, whatever the architectural, the small knowledge even that I'm having right now is because of ma'am, because I was also a student of Meenakshi ma'am 2-3 years back. So basically that's all. And thank you, ma'am, again for
My pleasure.
giving your time in this situation. We are looking forward to hearing more from you in tomorrow's session.
Definitely.
And just one thing, is this time suitable for you, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. It's not the problem.
Okay. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.